Hello, everybody. Welcome to Dangerous Ideas. I am Lee Camp. Hope you're doing well out there. We'll be talking today about one of the largest corporations in America, Nvidia's stock price is crashing after China has leapfrogged the United States in AI. We'll be talking about a little bit of a deep dive into who exactly is Larry Ellison, Donald Trump's new BFF. But before we get to any of that and some of the other things that Trump's been doing in his far right fascist fun and games, as opposed to the far right fascist fun and games of the last administration, we'll be getting to all that. But as you can see on the screen, I am showing video of I've heard varying reports. Some have said 1 million people, 1 million Palestinians are returning to North Gaza. But I've also heard reports of just hundreds of thousands or 100,000. So I don't know the exact number, but clearly a great many people are returning to North Gaza for the first time in months and months, if not a year or more. This video shows the road along the coast packed with individuals who are, of course, walking. There's really no cars, barely any cars left. And if they are left, you probably don't want to get in one because Israel likes to bomb cars. So I would imagine that almost everyone is walking, with a few exceptions. But for a lot of people, this is for a lot of these Palestinians, these Gazans, this is a joyous event. You can see videos of them being thrilled that they're getting to return to what they view as home. Whether many of those homes will be left or not when they arrive, I've already seen video of people arriving at their homes to find the remaining rubble. Israel has destroyed, obliterated, or damaged over 90% of all structures in Gaza. That doesn't mean every house is, however, fully destroyed. So maybe some of them will find their possessions and find their house. This is because the reason this is happening now, as opposed to yesterday or the day before, is because the crossing between North and South Gaza was closed off by Israel, a genocidal occupying power. Say it with me, everybody. And the fact that I actually will say that out loud is probably the reason that I get a tiny, tiny percentage of the viewers that YouTube will happily allot to all the people who will talk about this issue and not use the word genocide. Anyway, that being said, it is for those on this trek who view it as a joyous moment, it is exciting to see them excited. I don't know how else to put it. Here's another excellent video, pretty amazing video of the thousands walking back to northern Gaza. In case anyone needs a reminder, you've got 46,000 executed. That doesn't count perhaps 10,000 in the rubble. It doesn't count perhaps 100 or 200,000 dying from disease and famine and other things, dying from their wounds, etc. So it is, the Lancet Medical Journal estimates 200,000 or more murdered by Israel over the span of 15, 16 months. And, we can all hope that the largest of the mass murder is over. Some people will say, oh, there is no ceasefire. It's all lies. Well, no, there is no full ceasefire. Israel continues to kill people. Israeli snipers have shot children recently in the past couple of days. So it's not fully a ceasefire, but it is very close to a ceasefire compared to what they were seeing before this. And so this is a big moment. And, from what I've heard from most Palestinians and Gazans, they're not going to stop resisting. They're proud of their resistance and their ability to persevere. I can't even imagine what it's like to be over there in the middle of this. I cannot fathom. And I don't know that anyone can. I don't know that anyone can. Unless you've been in an all-out war zone, unless you've lived through a genocide, I don't know that you can pretend to know what these people feel, what they're allowed to feel. Some people are, angry if they show joy for there being a momentary ceasefire. Some people are angry if they don't show joy. Why aren't they thrilled that there's a momentary ceasefire? I think that they get to decide their own emotions when you have been at the tip of a barrel, at the tip of a bomb for 16, 17 months. The people I know who speak to people regularly over there, there's really no one in Gaza who doesn't have family members who have died. There's almost no one in Gaza who doesn't have family members who have been murdered. That's if you aren't one of the murdered. That's if you're still alive. And so let's say you're thrilled to have survived so far, and you aren't starving, and you aren't disease, coming down with a disease, or your close family member, or let's say you have no babies that are on the cusp of surviving or dying. Let's say you don't have any of that. You still have a cousin who's been murdered. So how do you tell that person what they're allowed to feel, how they should, I don't know, enjoy or not enjoy this moment? I don't think you can. So I wanted to bring that to you. Who knows where it'll go next? And yet again, I said this before Trump even got into office, that the fact that Trump was able to, and again, Trump, far-right fascist lunatic, megalomaniacal, sociopath. The fact that he, I think he'd agree with all that. I think he'd be down with that description. Pretty sure he has it written on the back of his underwear. Anyway, the fact that he was able to push this ceasefire through, I know Biden likes to take credit, but we saw that when Biden was pushing nearly the exact same plan, according to Biden's words, when he was pushing it, nothing happened. When Trump suddenly had been elected and was days from coming into office, when he was pushing it, suddenly happens. Now, of course, there's garbage in this ceasefire deal. There's stuff like the fact that it says in the deal that if Israel violates the ceasefire, Trump will support them, no matter why. Doesn't matter. Basically, the moment Israel decides to violate the ceasefire, Trump will be waving an Israeli flag. So, Trump should not be hugely celebrated for this because of all the garbage he's going to push about Israel as we go through. I mean, he and Kushner, his son-in-law, talk about taking over Gaza, talk about how valuable that land will be, which is talking of ethnic cleansing. That's what it is. And so I don't know that you should jump up and down and hug Donald Trump for this. But to me, what it really shows is how impotent Biden and the Democrats are. They, as we've all said many, many times, well, those in independent media, those even willing to talk about the most important topic in the world, or one of them right now, Biden, as Trump did, could end it or bring about a ceasefire with one phone call, because that's all it takes is for the United States to say, we're not paying your bonds, we're not sending you missiles. Israel would have to stop immediately. Done. So anyway, that's what it seems Trump did for a moment. Who knows what tomorrow brings? Who knows what the next few hours bring? It's just it's so pathetic how much the U.S. is owned in this regard. On the same topic, one of the best, and I mean best, journalists on this topic, on Palestine, on Gaza, on Israel's ongoing genocide, is Ali Abu Nima. I've interviewed him before. I've met him before at a mutual friend's house. Also, we've had other people from Electronic Intifada on my show, on Eleanor Goldfield's show, Project Censored. They do amazing work. And Ali Abu Nima has been arrested in Switzerland. The last updates I saw, he has not been freed. This happened yesterday or the day before. And again, why is he arrested? For being a journalist, for revealing the truth about Israel, for revealing the efforts that Europe has made to facilitate this genocide with Israel. That's why he's arrested, is for those things. Not because he was running around with firearms and knives in his suitcase. He flew to Switzerland to give a speech He did a video saying that he had been warned he might be arrested if he went to Switzerland, and he decided to go anyway. And now he's been arrested for being a reporter. And if you don't know electronic intifada, and by the way, for those of you who are scared because you hear the word intifada and you go, oh my God, that means terrorism. If you translate the word, it means revolution. Uprising. It means uprising. So would you be concerned about a title in English that just said the electronic uprising? Would that make you wet yourself the same way? If not, then don't be upset about this. Anyway, Electronic Intifada, like I said, they do amazing work. And one of their, I don't have his name on hand, but one of their other journalists was arrested in, there it is, Asa Winstanley was arrested in Britain for basically similar things as with Richard Medhurst. I had Richard Medhurst on this show to talk about his arrest, basically for covering what's going on in Gaza. These people are all being arrested, which is horrific. And of course, it's against freedom of press. Anything that Europe, that Switzerland, that Britain claim to stand for about whether you have a right to report on these things, that you can throw it all out the window. You can tear it all up. Really? A freedom of press? Oh, well, unless you say certain things, and then we're going to arrest you. And in the case of Richard Medhurst, we're going to put you in prison for 24 hours and steal all your devices. And now I believe they're bringing charges against Richard Medhurst, so he may spend more time in prison. Who knows what's going on with Ali Abunimah right now? And this is also hilarious on the cusp of, you have Ali Abunimah arrested in Switzerland, essentially the same day that Elon Musk appeared by video at a party event convention of the far right in Germany, which is the far right in Germany is Nazis without using the term. And he appeared by video and gave like a keynote speech where he told them not to feel guilty about Germany's past, not to feel guilty about what your grandfathers and great-grandfathers did. Who do you think he was referring to? What do you think he was referring to when he said, don't feel guilty about that? So Elon Musk appears that Germany's fine with it. Meanwhile, Germany, and apparently Switzerland as well, their neighbors, arresting reporters who cover the truth in Gaza. So, and in Germany, you can't say anything really about Palestine. You can be arrested in Germany for saying free Palestine. That's it. Just free Palestine. Not even doing reporting work, just saying free Palestine. You can be arrested in Germany. So Germany is allowing a genocide in Gaza, and they're not arresting or even upset about, apparently, that Elon Musk will go in front of the far right and say, hey, don't worry about that last Holocaust. It was okay. Apparently not. Okay. I've got an update here. This obviously just came in within the latest hours. Switzerland has deported Ali Abunimah. So, sorry I didn't have that update when I started this story. He was arrested and held for, I think, at least 2 days. But thank you, Roberto, for the update. I did look for updates 2 hours ago, but, stuff can change within 2 hours. So, that's good news. It sounds like he's going to be freed, but everything else I said is exactly the same, except that he's not currently in prison, but they are imprisoning journalists and kicking them out of the countries, et cetera, et cetera. Well, that is good news that he is free. Okay. I want to shift gears here to one of the largest American companies by supposed value. I know the stock market's Ponzi scheme, so when you say value, what do you really mean? But it is crashing. It is the stock price is dwindling fast because China and their AI developments have leapfrogged OpenAI, ChatGPT, and it's pretty incredible. Before I do that story, please, everyone, sign up at leecamp.net, my locals page. Take 2 seconds. Even if you don't want to become a paying subscriber, you can just sign up as a free member. You won't get everything. You won't get the perks, but still, that would be really cool, and it would support this show because, as you can see, I am suppressed into oblivion. I keep fighting this fight. I'm not giving up. I'm not becoming alt-right like so many other independent media voices. They're like, oh, we get clickety clicks if we become fascist? Sure. Which way do we march? Oh, this way. Okay, it's over that way. Absolutely. Surely. Oh, look at that. My bank account's getting bigger as I sell my soul to fascism. That's beautiful. I'm not doing that. And therefore, YouTube hates me. Not just YouTube, but other platforms as well. Cannot stand that I keep holding on to this moral core no matter how much people just, no matter how much I'm just suppressed into oblivion. But you guys can help keep this show going by joining up at leakcamp.net. That's my local page. Like I said, even if you don't want to become a paying subscriber, $6 a month, just join up for free. leakcamp.net. Become a free member over there. Okay. Here is some updates on what's going on here. Nvidia stock, which was one of the top stocks in America. You cannot overstate how large this company had become. And I know some of you, as was I a couple of months ago, going, Nvidia? I haven't even heard of this thing. They make the chips. They make the chips that allow for AI processing. At least that's what we thought. And so that's why in this photo, he's holding up a chip. Nvidia stock was hammered by Monday's sell-off. Shares tumbled more than 13% in recent trading, its largest intraday drop since a tech rout in August. At its deepest, Monday's sell-off wiped nearly $480 billion from Nvidia's market cap. And there's other articles out there from Forbes and the like saying Nvidia could drop down to like a third of its so-called worth. Again, Wall Street's Ponzi scheme, but could drop way down into a fraction of what it was. And this, so Nvidia, the reason they had that high net worth was because OpenAI and ChatGPT and the other AIs with Google and Grok on Twitter and everything needed these chips to exist, to quote unquote learn, right? These giant models. Well, here's what's going on with China's version, DeepSeek, which is the polar opposite of our AI in that it's open source, it's far more affordable. Anyway, let me just show you CNBC's take on it real quick, and then I'll jump back in.
It was a technological leap that shocked Silicon Valley. A newly unveiled, free, open source AI model that beat some of the most powerful ones on the market. But it wasn't a new launch from OpenAI or model announcement from Anthropic. This one was built in the East by a Chinese research lab called DeepSeek. And the details behind its development stunned top AI researchers here in the US. First, the cost. The AI lab reportedly spent just $5.6 million to build DeepSeek version 3. Compare that to OpenAI, which is spending $5 billion a year. And Google, which expects capital expenditures in 2024 to soar to over $50 billion.
So there's just a taste of what's going on here. They are spending literally billions to create these AI models, these AI software that facilitate things like OpenAI or make them possible at all. And suddenly DeepSeek shows up, and DeepSeek it was unveiled like a month ago or a few weeks ago, and didn't have the impact yet that we're now seeing. And the reason for that was it hadn't yet, the people at DeepSeek had not yet revealed just how easily they did it, which is really what is just flooring these companies that are spending billions. Many are also saying that it will allow, people to basically create this AI on their own because you don't need giant computing power. Here are some of well, I don't know. I actually don't want to read all of these because many of them don't mean a lot to me, or they mean a little bit, but it's like, here's the difference between DeepSeek and ChatGPT. You can build games in different language. You can extract just the reasoning from DeepSeek. DeepSeek R1 thinks in real time. DeepSeek was a side project. It wasn't even the main thing they were involved in at the DeepSeek lab. It was like this extra thing they just did for $6 million compared to the billions being spent by OpenAI and Meta. Thank you, Alex, for the donation and helping keep this show going. Alex says, recall VC firms advising folks to not work on cures, but treatments. Oh, yeah, good memory, Alex. CCP, meaning China, is researching cancer cures and open source AI. The commies won capitalism. That's a good way to put it. Yeah, he's referencing, it was a leaked memo that I covered back when it happened from Goldman Sachs, internal for their top investors, saying don't invest in cures, only invest in treatments, because cures aren't good for profit. Basically, we don't want human cures. We don't want people doing well. We don't want to see people cured of cancer. We want to see them coming back every week for more treatment that they have to pay for. That's where the real money is. And Goldman Sachs said this, not publicly, but they actually wrote it down in a memo to their top investors. And this let's see, this video here shows DeepSeek running on a basically home Pro Mac. It's got 7 Pro Mac minis and a MacBook Pro, and that's all it takes. Meanwhile, Facebook and Trump just announced $500 billion investment into data centers to do basically what their version does right there on your home PC with some MacBook minis attached to it. It's just unbelievable. And apparently part of the reason they were able to do this was because of basically the engineering. They rethought how the AI model is functioning, and they were able to compartmentalize the efforts of the AI so that it doesn't have to use every single bit of it at the same time. Instead, it quickly decides which area, and I realize I'm not using the official terminology, but I hope you're getting the point, which area needs to be utilized, and it's able to do it that way rather than just using, massive data centers to constantly run. Then there's the energy output. The energy output of the open AI and everything is insane, and DeepSeek uses a fraction of the energy as well. All of these things are just embarrassing. OpenAI, embarrassing Nvidia, embarrassing even Meta, Facebook, Instagram, Google, Twitter, X. It's embarrassing, all of them, because it's taking what they thought takes billions of dollars and giant data centers, and it's doing it for $6 million. It did it for $6 million and a couple of MacBook Minis or whatever those things are called. So I thought this would be a good moment. This also shows, actually, before I get to that, this also shows how ridiculous Wall Street is. Wall Street is a game of gambling and guessing. And so Nvidia was this golden stock that was rivaling, it was barely losing out to Apple as like one of the top stocks in America a month ago, or maybe a week ago. I don't know. And it's just it's a gambling game. People put all their money in Nvidia because everyone's talking about Nvidia. And then, someone comes out and says, hey, turns out we don't need Nvidia chips. We can do it with far less. And all of a sudden the stock comes crashing down. People lose, billions of dollars. And, for your average multi-millionaire, that's not a big hit. They got a lot of money in a lot of different companies. But for your average Joe who took his $10,000 life savings, sunk it into Nvidia, thinking this was going to be the answer, and now he's lost 2/3 of it or whatever, half of it, and it could keep going lower. It's just insanity. It's like, how that's not like that is, it's not based on any reality. It's based on a gambling guess as to how much this little piece of paper is going to be worth one day, which isn't even a piece of paper. It's just online, but I need it to hold up something. Like soon we will be, I mean, maybe we already are. We will be, like, the fact that we're IRL, the fact that you and I are in the real world makes us like, it's like a, Polaroid camera. It's like, yeah, some kids have them nowadays because it's like the cool thing. Remember when this was a thing? It's like a rotary telephone. You and I, in 10 years, you and I will be rotary telephones. Like humans will just be like, people have humans. I don't know what people, aliens, robots. Yeah. So the AI will have humans in like a glass jar on the counter where they're like, remember back when that was a thing, like a rotary telephone. You know, like you walk into someone's house, you see a rotary telephone, you go, "Oh my god, dude, what is that?" You're like, "I just like it just makes me feel homey." I never use it. It just feels good to have a rotary on the phone. On the wall. It's amazing. And soon, 10 years from now, it'll be Alexa. We'll have you stapled up to the wall. And then when the other Alexas walk in, the Siri walks in the door to have some coffee with Alexa. Siri will go, "What do you do with a human on the wall?" And Alexa's like, "It just makes me feel good. You know, it's just cozy. Like back when I was a kid. Remember those things walking around everywhere? Yeah, I guess I do." Okay. So I thought this moment with all the US AI crashing down. Oh, see, I'm doing the tangent thing again. Oh! If more of you would become members, I could have a producer. See how that would work? Sorry to go backwards for a second. I didn't really get it deeper into the open source thing, even though it's called open AI. It's not open source, so I don't even know what that's supposed to mean. But DeepSeek is open source, and what happens with open source is when it's kept open source, is you can benefit from like 1 billion people, or let's say 100 million around the world out of 8 point whatever billion we got in the world. Let's say 100 million. Let's cut it down even lower. Let's say 50 million people are smart enough to understand the coding and all the shit that's involved in AI. Let's go even lower. Let's say 2 million people around this globe are like top of the line AI geniuses that get it all, fucking study it. They know what they're talking about. You benefit from all of that knowledge, all of them working around the world. Now, granted, AI may, if it continues to be in the hands of the ruling elite, it'll be used for war games and kill us all. But put that aside for a second. I've also talked about how AI, if it were used appropriately, could actually solve a lot of mankind's problems if it keeps getting better, because technology advances exponentially. So if this is what we've achieved in 5 years of AI, imagine 20 years from now, no doubt you could have AI that could tell us how to quote unquote fix capitalism, get rid of it, and fix wage slavery, get rid of it, and fix environmental destruction, get rid of humans, and etc. It could tell us how to solve all those problems. But that being said, you benefit from all these amazing brains around the world. Instead, when you aren't open source, you are locked in a confined little, one building. You got just the geniuses at Apple, and I'm not saying they aren't smart, working on whatever problem, as opposed to the geniuses around the world. To me, yeah. I am seeing an update that there's DeepSeek is dealing with a cyber attack. What do you want to bet that's from the CIA? What do you want to bet the U.S. is involved in the cyber attack on DeepSeek right now? Because the U.S. has no answer other than walling off the United States from advancements. Like, we just build a wall and we say, no bullet trains here. We build a wall and we say, no fusion energy here. We build a wall and we say, we can't even have TikTok because it's better than our social apps. We build a wall. We say, we're not using DeepSeek AI here. We build a wall. We say, we're not bringing your electric vehicles into our country because they're better and more efficient and cheaper than ours. By the way, China sells a electric car that costs $1,200. I'll just pause and let you take that in for a second. China sells an electric car that costs $1,200. Anyway, what I was saying is Trump is putting this $500 billion into AI infrastructure. I talked about that in the last show. I talked about the positives and negatives. This AI infrastructure, the massive project, was already started under Biden, but Trump's taking credit for it. Anyway, during the photo op for this thing, he had Sam Altman from OpenAI. By the way, Sam Altman himself is proof that we are in a simulation. He's creating AI. He's creating the alternative to humans, and his name is Altman. Come on. This is ridiculous. Stupid simulation. We're in a dumb guy's simulation. He's not even bothering to come up with real names anymore. Sam Altman is up there, and then Elon Musk, and then Elon Musk wasn't there on that day, I don't think, but Bezos, and then Larry Ellison was the other one. So you don't need me to tell you the truth about Elon Musk or Bezos. We do that every day for years now. I haven't talked a lot about Larry Ellison. So let's talk for a moment about Larry Ellison. And this will also show all of you who believe in Trump. Trump's going to fix things. Trump's not alt-right. Trump's not a fascist. He just wants to fix America. He wants to make America good. All of you out there that believe that, these are his friends. These are the people he allies himself with. Larry Ellison has been a supporter of his for years and years. So here's an article. Larry Ellison, tech's original maverick, makes Trump era return. U.S. tech titans Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg's the other one was there. Mark Zuckerberg and Jeff Bezos are taking a prominent place in the new Trump era, but another player from another era, Oracle boss Larry Ellison, is making a surprise return. Unlike most tech leaders who distanced themselves from Trump in 2016, Ellison offered his early support. Today, he ranks among the world's wealthiest individuals with a fortune of $230 billion, only behind Musk and Bezos. Trump's first full day in office, Ellison made an unexpected White House appearance to unveil an AI infrastructure project alongside OpenAI Sam Altman, SoftBank's Masayoshi-san. He's sort of, I was like, why can't I say this sentence? It's because it's Trump's broken English. Have you ever noticed Trump hates immigrants and he speaks broken English? Like, is that not ironic? Trump said he's sort of CEO of everything. He's an amazing man. Trump enthused while introducing his longtime ally. Okay, so loves Larry Ellison. By the way, fun fact, Larry Ellison had his head replaced like 10 years ago. So if you'll notice in photos, clearly a prosthetic head. Anyway, here's a little bit, and I'll, by the way, I know this is a Twitter feed, but this guy's amazing. Z Squirrel, he did some awesome uncovering of the Israel's lies about October 7th, etc. Does really great work. Anyway, Trump wants Larry Ellison to take over TikTok. So along with the AI infrastructure, he's also talking about Larry Ellison taking over TikTok. Because, by the way, Trump delayed the ban of TikTok, but for like 75 days or 90 days or something, but it still has to be sold to an American company, which so far has been like a non-starter. So it's not even clear that TikTok won't ultimately get banned, but he's trying to sell it to Elon Musk or Larry Ellison or something. Ellison, as this account says, is a deranged fanatical Zionist Epstein associate who has funded the expansion of illegal Israeli settlements, land thefts, and the IDF. And he's offered an Oracle position to Netanyahu. So basically, if he takes over TikTok, it will be in conjunction with Mossad, is their analysis. And he highlights articles showing Larry Ellison involved in Israeli land theft, etc. So let's see. Also, here's some more fun facts about Ellison if you want to really love the guy. He is basically fondly, and there's a picture of his prosthetic head in case you wanted to see it. He's fondly predicting a rise of modern surveillance states in which, quote, citizens will be on their best behavior because everything will be monitored. This is the guy Trump is in bed with. So anybody who's a MAGA supporter who thinks they're going to get freedom from Donald Trump or thinks there's not going to be surveillance and he's going to defend our rights and all that shit. No, the polar opposite. Now, Biden was the same, right? All of this surveillance. I mean, there's no level of surveillance that Biden was like fighting against in his 4 years in office. So same on surveillance, Biden and Trump and Harris. But Larry Ellison has talked fondly about citizens, quote unquote, being on their best behavior because everything is being monitored. And then Whitney Webb points out, let's see, where is it? The fact that this guy, meaning Sam Altman, and Larry Ellison, who is pushing digital ID and says surveillance will force all of us on our best behavior, were platformed day one at the White House, and the executive branch is touting their outsized role in U.S. AI infrastructure should be a major cause for concern. Yeah. And then she says people misunderstand the World Economic Forum, what it does, in my opinion, but its most obvious and overt goal, as a group is to facilitate digital transformation and the Great Reset. Expect that many of those Great Reset policy agendas to be marketed as free market, private sector innovation. Expect some of the independent media figures who claim to be against the Great Reset now support its very policies under different sales pitches, because they are bright, aren't they? They are the bright ones. I also like to point out that most of what the World Economic Forum is it's the outward-facing goals of the globalists, the ruling elite, the richest of the rich. It's what they want you to believe they're doing. So it's all kinds of, it's endless talk about climate change, about caring about the environment, caring about human rights. Like, that's a lot of what Davos is and the World Economic Forum is. It's not the behind closed doors stuff. Like, that's the real stuff you got to worry about, is the stuff they're not forwardly talking to you about. Also, one last note on Larry Ellison before we get to some of the other awesome things Trump has done early in his, within days of getting to office. Larry Ellison's Oracle started as a CIA project. That's right. As did, at least connected to CIA, as did Facebook and Google. They all had In-Q-Tel, CIA venture capital funds connected to them. Vox somehow, he's talking about the liberal outlet Vox. This is in Gizmodo, by the way. Vox somehow managed to write an entire article. And by the way, this is way back in 2014, but it doesn't matter. This is about Larry Ellison's origins. Right, an entire article about the history of Oracle and its founder, Larry Ellison, without mentioning the CIA even once, which is pretty astounding given the fact that Oracle takes its name from a 1977 CIA project code name. I'd never realized that. And that the CIA was Oracle's first customer. So Trump literally, day one, says, CIA, please take over the White House, as if they hadn't already. Oracle has always been a significant player in the national security industry, and that its founder would not have made his billions without helping to build the tools of our modern surveillance state. And as mentioned before, Ellison to this day is very excited about surveillance on American citizens. Ellison has always been a big believer in the federal government maintaining large national databases, and he was able to be much more public about it in the months after September 11th. In fact, Ellison argued that we needed just one large national security database, one with national ID cards and mandatory iris scans, naturally. Now he switched to RFID, I think, implanted chips. He wants to have that happen as opposed to iris scans. Does it sound like these multi-billionaires perhaps want to control everyone else? Are you getting that gist at all? No? And if you need a reminder, all of these people were controlling the show before Trump got into office. Trump, it just seems to be putting them more in the front. He's just pushing them up to the front of the camera a little more. Okay, now I want to get to... Thank you so much, by the way, everyone, for being here. Please make sure you let people know and share and join up at leecamp.net. I cannot repeat this enough. You can join up for free. You won't get all the perks, but you'll get some of them, and it will support this show even if you're not throwing in $1, even if you're not throwing in a red cent. I don't know what a red cent means. Anyway, hope it's not racist. I have no idea what a red cent is. So let's move on with some of what Trump is doing. Trump has fired 17 independent watchdogs at U.S. government agencies, basically getting rid of 17 inspectors general at various agencies, such as Department of State, Defense, Transportation, and many more. Now, there are those who say this is illegal. He's not allowed to just get rid of all the inspectors general on day one. It's not that he couldn't. Thank you. Ollie Gunner is telling me that a red cent equals communist money. Or maybe you were just thinking it might. I don't know. I don't know whether you actually had inside knowledge or whether you're just saying that's what it could be. Some are saying this is illegal for him to do it. Others say he'll probably achieve it anyway, getting rid of all these inspector generals. To me, there's a couple of points to be made here. One is that because we live in inverted totalitarianism, even before Trump got into office, even before his first term in office, these inspector generals were not doing a lot. They were doing a little, they tinker around the edges to try and stop the most egregious, perhaps corruption. But in my view, these systems were already captured by the corporatocracy or whatever you want to call them. So yeah, it's a bit more in your face. Again, Trump basically does fascism. He does it wrong because it's in your face. And that makes people angrier often than what we had under Biden, where people said, oh, no, that's not fascism. It's just a dopey 90-year-old wandering around, bumping his head on stuff. That's not fascism. That's better for fascism than to have this guy, this red-faced loon yelling in your camera. But anyway, so that's part of it. I don't think these inspectors general were making, it's not like the U.S. government was being kept under wraps as long as these inspectors generals are there. And it is, by the way, inspectors general. I know I just said inspectors generals because I fucked it up, but inspectors general. Just like the Onion once said, so something like Burger King lowers the price on the quarters pounder or something like that. I can't remember, but all it took was an extra S and it made me very happy. So that's one thing Trump's been involved in. There's been a flurry. They say a flurry of executive actions. I covered a bunch of them the other day, whether they make a difference, whether they don't. Some of them kind of make a difference, but they also don't make as much a difference as people think. You look at the immigration raids, they are horrific and they are having an impact. Also, Biden deported more people than Trump did last time around. Let's see if that's not the case. Let's see if Trump breaks his record. Come on, Trumpy boy. Let's hate those immigrants. Yay. By the way, I'll just throw in here, if the ruling elite, if the ruling douchebags are getting you to think all your problems are due to immigrants instead of your problems being the ruling elite, being the class war we live inside of, then they win. So every time you go, oh, those immigrants, they've won. Done. They've won. I just want to throw that in here. But so Trump has started these raids across the country. Just one more reminder, Biden deported more people than Trump did last time. Might not be the case this time. And what stage of capitalism is this? Dr. Phil, America's doctor, joined the Chicago immigration raid. And in case you're trying to give some crazy amount of credit to some crazy leeway to Dr. Phil and going, maybe he joined to make sure the immigrants were going to be okay. Maybe he joined as a compassionate human being who was like, oh, your family's getting ripped apart and you're getting shipped back to a country you don't know anything about. Maybe that's why he joined the immigration raid. Nope. Dr. Phil is an egregious, awful human being who has been spending apparently a lot of his shows or TV show, whatever. I don't know what channel he's on or what he does now, but he has some kind of show. Spending a lot of his time hating on immigrants. This is a rich Texan who hates the poorest. Thank you, Tyler, for joining up as a YouTube member. Who hates the poorest among us, wants to stop them from daring to try and survive our own onslaught, the U.S. government's own onslaught on their other countries. So Dr. Phil joined the immigration raid to get the immigrants I haven't seen the video, but I'm assuming he's standing there talking about, let's get them. Hey, those dirty immigrants. Totally repulsive human being. TV personality Dr. Phil joined the U.S. border czar Tom Homan in a choreographed immigration raid in Chicago, one of several conducted in U.S. cities over the weekend, in what Homan claimed was only the beginning stages of Trump's promised threat to deport millions of people from the country. Awesome, awesome. These are good people. I didn't. They came for the immigrants, and I didn't speak up because I wasn't an immigrant. They came for the unionists, and I didn't speak up because I wasn't a union member. They came for the comedians, and I didn't speak up because I wasn't a comedian. And then they came for me. You've heard that one. I think I might have butchered it slightly, but you've heard that one. And then they came for me, and there was no one to speak up. Left. Okay. So if you're wondering whether these, oh wait, sorry, I just mentioned Tom Homan, the head, the border czar, whatever they're calling him, and in case, despite the fact that Biden deported more than Trump did last time, despite the fact that Obama was known as reporter in chief, despite all that, in case you're thinking, well, look, this is worse than anything Obama did, than anything Biden did, this is worse. Well, Tom Homan, first appointed by President Barack Obama as Immigration and Customs Enforcement's Executive Associate Director of Enforcement and Removal Operations in 2013. That's right. Tom Homan, Trump's new border czar, was Obama's ICE Executive Associate Director. And was Obama horrified by the shit Homan did and how racist he was, how anti-immigrant he was? Was Obama just beside himself? Why did I appoint this maniac, this sociopath to that position? Is that what Obama said? In 2015, President Obama gave him a Presidential Rank Award as a distinguished executive. The Washington Post article at the time stated, and I don't know if they mean the article stated this or Obama stated this, but either way, Thomas Homan deports people and he's really good at it. Obama gave him one of the top government awards for being a racist sociopath. And now Trump was like, I like the cut of his jib. So as you're witnessing these horrific raids, just going after the poorest, the people among us who are working and, like, statistically speaking, breaking far fewer laws than anyone else because they don't want to get deported. So they're very careful not to break laws, statistically speaking. If you're horrified by these raids, how they're destroying families, how they're destroying lives, how they're destroying cities, how racist it is, how the fact that these people came here because the U.S. destroyed their original country that they were in before that, if you're horrified by all that, Obama appointee, just remember that. So is this having an impact? Trump's crazy raids, which, he's more forthright with them, right? Biden wants to not talk about all the immigration deportation because he wants to look like he cares about immigrants. That's one of the things Democrats do mostly. Harris ultimately decided to go far right and say she was going to deport, an endless number of immigrants or whatever. She tried to play both sides, but for the most part, Democrats try to pretend to care. They don't. So this is more in your face. As I've been saying, Trump is more in your face. And are these deportations, these raids, having an impact? Well, Central Valley farm workers are scared to show up to work over deportation fear. And this is apparently, there's other articles saying that this could collapse like a large percentage of our farming industry in the United States. Apparently, it depends on which state you're talking about, but in California, probably Texas, probably a few other places, New Mexico. But California is one of the bread baskets of America. They grow a lot of our crops in California. 50% of the farm workers don't have papers. So if all of them stop showing up because these farms want to, or maybe their entire economic model rests on them paying tiny amounts to these workers, they're not paying taxes on them, etc. So our system right now is set up to work with a large amount of undocumented people. And apparently they're all not showing up to work. And you're going to start seeing it. Who does that hurt other than these people who fear for their lives? Who else does it hurt? Your average consumer. The people who are going to suddenly start paying, 5 times as much for an avocado because the farmers aren't showing up. The people who were barely making ends meet to begin with, and now they can't afford a sandwich. Like, that's who this is going to hurt most, outside of the people who might be getting deported. Okay. I didn't realize I had this article here ready to go, but this is an article saying nearly half of farm workers lack legal status. And by the way, there's a great, I don't remember what podcast I listened to this story about, but if you're wondering whether this is hard work, why can't they just hire a bunch of Americans that have the legal papers to do this work? Apparently, this work is brutal. And there was a time was it Reagan or Carter? I think it might have been Reagan. I can't remember the name of the program. Maybe someone can not Google it. Don't use Google. Google. Maybe you can I was gonna say Bravo it, Brave it. Maybe you can DuckDuckGo it or something. But there was a program where they were trying to replace all the immigrants doing the farm work, I believe under Reagan. And they were like, well, we need hard workers. We need young men. So what we'll do is we'll make this program where young high school males will be doing this farm work on their sport, like athletes on their off season time. And so they tried to do it. And the kids were so many of them lasted like a day. And despite the fact that they were basically kidnapped, I mean, they were made an offer they couldn't refuse, not monetarily. It was like, you have to go here. They lasted like a very few, and many of them didn't have cars. So they were like hitchhiking to get the fuck out of town. And anyway, it's hilarious because it was like, we'll get our youngest, strongest men. And they were all like, I ain't doing this shit. Their hands are all sliced up. It's brutal work. And we're now trying to deport 50% of all our farm workers. It's good. It's good. Maybe it'll teach the Americans something. Okay. Let me cover one more. I got at least 2 more stories, but let me cover one more thing that Trump did. So the State Department has issued this immediate freeze on foreign aid, and I'll quiz you guys. Do you think there's an asterisk on certain countries that will not stop getting aid from the United States? There is a freeze on aid for the moment on all countries except Israel. And he also adds in Egypt because we give billions of dollars of military aid to Egypt as well. So Israel and Egypt. And some people were wondering by the wording of the thing whether it meant that military aid would be shut off to Ukraine. But apparently that is not true. So although many of these, liberal outlets were like, he's going to stop helping the Ukrainians fight our proxy war, even though there was a lot of the pearl grabbing on that one. Apparently, Zelensky is saying that's not true. And I think others have said that they're not shutting off the military aid to Ukraine as of yet. And I know a lot of people will get excited about this. Trump, yay, he's cutting off the aid that we're sending to these other countries to commit harm. And there's a lot of liberals who will be running around going, oh my God, the food's not going to get to the the truth is the vast majority of aid that the United States sends to another country is in order to either manipulate them, try to make sure that we continue to have control, like economic control over that country, or it's to sometimes create color revolutions where we don't have the person in power that we want to, but if we send, aid over there that can let us get our tentacles into their society. So very little or maybe no U.S. aid isn't premised on either keeping control of a country, somewhat of control, or trying to get control of said country. There is very little, possibly no, U.S. aid that goes out that in money, in food, in weapons, that is not meant to consolidate U.S. hegemony. And so I think as the liberals are flipping out and saying he's not going to help the children, let's remember why the U.S. gives aid. It is never just out of the kindness of our hearts. Those people were hungry and they needed food because, as I've mentioned many times, the U.S. could literally solve the problem of clean water for, there's different estimates, $10 to $30 billion around the world. Solve it for a year. Elon Musk could do it himself. Solve it for a year for $10 to $30 billion. It'd be a fraction, like a drip of the Pentagon's budget, and we'd be beloved by so many nations around the world. We'd save millions of lives, mainly babies, children, and elderly, from dying from dirty water. It would be one of the most incredible, holy shit, the United States cares about human beings moments, and the U.S. would never do that. A, because that is not how we use our aid. We use our aid to try and control countries. And B, because these globalists, these ruling elite, they don't want more people. They'd kind of like a lot of people to die. That's on the t-shirts. Larry Ellison and Zuckerberg and them were up there wearing the t-shirts in the Oval Office. It said, "We kind of like a lot of people to die." Like, just throwing that in there. Which also might, just as an aside here, also might explain why the Russian military has blown the whistle on Bill Gates' bioterrorism plot to reduce the population. Russia, and now, I don't have inside knowledge. I don't know whether Russia's saying this to try and get some sort of edge. I'll let you decide. Many other people have reported this on Bill Gates and others, but we do know that there has been biolabs built by the United States in Ukraine. We know that the CIA, this just came out a couple of days ago, the CIA has changed their view. Now, they say it's low confidence, but they still have switched their view from the pandemic, COVID-19 being a natural cause, to COVID-19 being a lab leak. That's the CIA has said that. Now, again, I will stress, they're saying they have low confidence in that, but they made the decision to switch from it's a natural cause to it's a lab leak. Many others have said it's a lab leak. New York Times did some coverage on it being a lab leak. There are others who will angrily argue that it's natural. So I'll let that fight out on its own. But anyway, Russia's Ministry of Defense has accused billionaire Bill Gates of funding bioterrorism-related activities with the goal of population reduction. The Russian MOD raised the alarm in a press briefing where officials asserted that Gates Foundation is a primary sponsor of the U.S. African Biolab complex. African specialists capable of enhancing the pathogenic functions of microorganisms are actively operating. They claim the Russian military has uncovered evidence showing that Gates has been funding U.S. biological activity in Africa. The U.S. administration views the region as an unlimited natural reservoir of dangerous infectious agents and a testing ground for experimental medical drugs. So that's what the Russian military is saying, and some others. By the way, I'll throw in here that of the entire time I did Redacted Tonight, and by the way, for those of you who liked Redacted Tonight, I am recreating a cheaper independent version I'm calling Unredacted Tonight, and you can find out about it, first episode, all that stuff. You can find out when it's coming out by joining up at leecamp.net. Again, you can join up for free at leecamp.net. It's my locals page. Okay, so I just wanted to add that of the 8 years that we did Redacted Tonight, an episode every week that I wrote all my own words and all my own research, the only episode, all of them uploaded on YouTube, I don't know what it was, 300, 400 episodes, the only episode that YouTube ever came to us and said we had to take down was an episode where the opening monologue was about Bill Gates and his connection. This is way before, a couple of years before COVID, or a year before COVID. His connection to WHO and bioweapons and stuff like that. That's the only episode ever. Now, there were others that were suppressed, by YouTube's algorithm and stuff, but that was the only one where they were like, can't be on their site. Okay. I'm doing one more story because I'm on a roll here. Yes, DJ Adam is adding Ali Abu Nima is free. I did get that update as I was covering it. So thank you, DJ, as well, for reminding everyone. He's been deported from Switzerland, but at least he's not in prison anymore. Okay, so I want to do one more story before I wrap this up for today. By the way, folks, you just got to come and show up to these live streams. They're Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. Friday's members only, but 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific, and you're not going to get the alerts. They're not going to tell you, so you just got to show up, support the show. But this is about what's going on at the California lithium factory that very few are talking about, are covering. It sounds a lot like East Palestine, Ohio, all over again, where they decided to do a controlled burn of that train crash. And ultimately, everybody in that town is dealing with headaches and nosebleeds and all other kinds of horrific shit, and they're not getting taken care of. And this is years after it happened. Anyway, seems like we might be seeing a new version of that. This is being covered by Status Quo. Update on the California lithium battery plant fire near the Salad Bowl of America. Produces 70% of our greens. I mentioned that earlier when I was talking about California's farmers. 70% of the greens apparently made in California. Residents there have nosebleeds, lung burning, headache, rash, metallic taste in their mouth. Health officials says that they're not testing the soil because, quote, we don't necessarily know what we're looking for. Sounds like they're on it. Don't worry, they're on it. That's the explosion, by the way. It happened several days ago, or maybe even a couple weeks ago. Other concerning developments, they've observed environmental officials conducting air quality testing by slightly rolling down their car windows and sticking out a handheld device for less than a minute. And of course, to get a real read of the air, you can't be driving by at 60 miles an hour. You got to get out and stand there and test a lot of areas, etc. Vistra, owner of the North California lithium battery plant, is using CTEH as its contractor to conduct air testing. Controversy has followed CTEH for over a decade as its testing practices and data have been called into question related to the BP oil spill, Hurricane Katrina, and more. The New York Times reported on CTEH and its conflicts of interest related to its BP oil spill air testing. Quote, it's essentially the fox guarding the chicken coop. I believe the expression is hen house. No? Are we switching to chicken coop? Really? Now? Now we're switching to it's hen house, you idiots. A former Exxon engineer said about CTEH's air testing. Well, he links to another article. I don't want to go to the other article right now. The Moss Landing Power Plant Fire Facebook group now has, that's what the fire was called, has 2,300 members, residents as close to half a mile away and as far as 50 to 100 miles have expressed both serious and mild health symptoms. Mainstream media barely covering the story. This fire and potential contamination of local air, water, and farmland affects not just local residents, but all Americans. Near the plant is known as the Salad Bowl of America. They produce 70% of the nation's lettuce, grows 80 plus different types of fruits and vegetables, supply nearly all the leafy greens consumed in the United States, 90% of North American artichokes. Lay off the artichokes, folks. Get those artichokes off or you will choke. Okay. See what I did there? It's easy to remember. Don't eat artichokes or you will choke because they're contaminated with lithium batteries. If your artichoke can power your phone, don't bite into it. Okay. This is very important. If your artichoke can charge your phone, you should just get, you use it to charge the phone, but then throw it out. You get some charge out of it, but dominant production of lettuce, broccoli, spinach, strawberries, cauliflower, celery. See, I always steer clear of celery because it always tastes like chemicals to begin with for me. Can't do the celery. Anyway, important story here that is getting very little coverage, and this is an ongoing theme with the United States corporate control, corporate ownership of our society, of our world, is that as these corporations have externalities, as they have, sometimes it's a crisis event like this explosion. Sometimes it's just a standard, like, oh, we've been dumping whatever comes out the back of the factory on your lettuce. So, and you let us. Oh, man. Yes, we're to pun time, folks. Okay. You hang in past an hour, we get to pun time. That's what happens. Lots of times they're just doing it as standard procedure. Just, we're going to dump this shit in your water and your land. And yeah, it doesn't matter. You know, look at fracking. Fracking has a chemical cocktail. They won't tell us what's in it, and they're just pumping it into our ground all day. And that's fine. That's all good. And if it really were pun time, I would say, what the frack is up with that? But I won't, because that's not fair to you. Okay, folks, I'm going to wrap there, but I'm here tomorrow, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. I hope you will join me. You're not going to get an alert. You just got to show up. Also, if you want more videos, I'm always putting out video clips. Just go to youtube.com/moment of clarity. Hit the videos tab. And like I said, if you want to support this show, go sign up even for free. LeeCamp.net. Really makes a difference. And that's all I got. Check out the latest episode of Just Comedy, my new podcast. It's called Just Comedy. You might have to look up Just Comedy with Lee Camp. And keep fighting.
Well, brother, I salute you, though, man. You're one of the few that bring together this tremendous artistic talent and still be in such deep solidarity with oppressed people.
It's an honor to be here because I'll tell you, Lee, you have one of the funniest shows on television, bar none.
It's an enormous pleasure to be here. While I was waiting, I was leafing through your wonderful book.
The same to you. I love your show. Be happy to come back anytime.
Lee, this is one of the great honors of my long career, just to be in the same earth with you.
I'm sure.
We're just so blinded. We have so many blinders on because our society doesn't want us to know things. And so it takes shows like your show, and
it is clearly designed to eradicate.
Hey, good to see you.
Hey, Jill, how are you? Julian, thanks for joining me. Honor to have you, brother.
Consumerism is a theory that people should behave this way to help each other. It's not.
Mr. George Galloway, thank you so much for joining me in these dark times.
Always a pleasure, my friend.
Thank you so much, Lee, for having me on. Keep fighting. Ha.